Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Foreman community demo. As usual, you can ask us questions on IRC, on the Foreman, on Twitter, or on the YouTube live chat. We have a pretty short demo today, but a few interesting things. Some updates about Discourse, subscription managers, and the fact importer. So first of all, some announcements. 1.16 is finally out. I know everyone has been waiting for this version, so it was already released, and Kotel 3.5 is about to be released. It's really just a matter of a few days. Our next demo was supposed to be in 3 weeks, which is actually during Christmas, so we'll be pushing it back by 1 week, so the next demo is on the 4th of January. And we have some upcoming conferences where you can see us. So you can see quite a few of our developers at DevConf on the last weekend of January in Brno. Then at FOSDEM in Brussels a week later. We already have a confirmation about a stand there. So we're going to have a stand for Foreman and over together, so you can come see us there. And of course, Config Management Camp, where we have the Foreman track. So today we're going to start with the Discourse Updates with Greg.
Thanks very much, Rory. Good to be here, guys. I know I'm technically not working at the moment, but I couldn't really abandon you when it comes to talking about Discourse, since that is kind of my pet project. So I emailed the lists last week to say that we'd be taking final decisions this week. And since there is also a demo today, it seemed appropriate to come on and give you the conclusions of those discussions. We've now been talking about Discourse for the best part of a month. And it seems pretty conclusive that most people feel like a move to a Foreman is a good idea. About 2 weeks ago, just before Thanksgiving, we opened a poll. And the poll really was acknowledging that Discourse was looking like it was going to happen in some form, but really talking about whether we move just part of the community or everything over to Discourse. And so I'm going to share the results of that poll with you right now. So here we go. And so firstly, you can see 23 votes in 2 weeks. Actually, it was more like 20 votes in a week was really the headline feature. We never get that kind of interaction when we start talking about development discussions, right? It just doesn't happen. Now, I know this is a highly charged topic, and I know that this is something a little bit out of the ordinary, but nonetheless, to get that level of interaction in a week, and also in a week in which there's Thanksgiving, and so people are actually away as well, it was just fantastic to see. And if we can maintain even half that level of interaction, then this is going to vastly improve the way in which we do discussions and so on. So the question was, I left the option of move nothing in there for the people who were really against forums. And then the more interesting question, whether we just move Foreman users or whether we move users and dev. And the results are fairly conclusive, 74% in favor of moving everything, 26% in favor of just moving Foreman users. Now, I've often said that we're not a democracy, we're a meritocracy, right? There are voices in the community which are stronger and have been there a long time, and we should take note of that. So I did a little bit of a calculation. I tried to weight this in a certain way. You can follow my mathematics if you're interested. I published how I did it. And the actual result doesn't change things much. It actually turns out to come out, this number's a little bit out of date, a few more people have voted, but it actually comes out at about 62% in favor of moving both lists when you try and weight it a certain way. So that's where we're at today. So I think the discussion ends here. I think it's fairly obvious what comes next. We're going to move everything. I appreciate there are people that have the reservations. I've tried to listen to those reservations and deal with those. We have an appropriate handover situation, which I'll explain in a moment. I don't want to be accused of not listening to people, but it's fairly obvious that the majority of the community feels that this is a good move and that we should move everything. And so that's what's going to happen. So the timeline is that things are obviously quiet over Christmas. And so it makes sense to do this while things are quiet. So for the next 3 weeks, so in the next few days, I'm a little busy tonight, but certainly by the end of the weekend, I will be putting out announcements to all the lists saying that they are effectively deprecated and that we will be migrating to Discourse in the near future. From that period, we have about 3 weeks to get our house in order. Most of Discourse is already set up and running. It's been live for a couple of weeks. It seems to be working fine. We need to do a few bits and pieces like working out what tags we want that people can use on their post, working out what groups we have so that people can notify groups, little things like that. Things that we can tweak as we roll forward, but would be nice to have in place before we start. And also bits and pieces like documentation, updating the website, things like that. So that happens over the next couple of weeks. And then on New Year's Eve, I will do the final migration. This is absolutely going to be like the quietest day of the year. And given that I have a young family, I'm not going out anyway. So I will volunteer my time, and somewhere around about late evening, close to midnight, I will do the migration. And so this is very much a case of new year, new tools, right? It's going to be good, I hope. That's kind of how I see the game plan rolling out. Once we've done the migration, there are a few cleanup tasks we can do. Most notably for you guys, the most notable thing that has to wait until the migration is done is merging duplicate users. So if you've ever used our mailing list with more than one email address, and I certainly have, as I've moved company to company, you'll find that there are multiple users that own your posts because Discourse can't tell that a different email address belongs to the same person. So if you have that situation, please get in touch with me, send me a private message on Discourse, and we'll work through I've got a process in mind for confirming that a single person owns both accounts. And we'll work through that, and then I'll make a note of it. And once the migration's done, I can merge your users. This can be done afterwards as well. Anytime in the future, if people notice duplications in users, then we can do merging. It's not a problem. So that's a little something. If you know you've got another account that needs merging in, just get in touch with me. So that's where we're at. I'm not going to labor the point any further. All I will say is that as of right now, for new threads, I don't see any reason why you couldn't start using Discourse right away if you wanted to. I would suggest, for the moment at least, just for continuity, if you've got existing threads in play, then keep to the mailing list. But there's really no reason not to start using Discourse right away for any new questions or discussions, because we're going to be moving to it anyway, so why not? And that's it, really. I think it's a new chapter for our community, and it's going to be pretty awesome. Or at least I hope it's going to be awesome, because it's my idea. So there you go. All right, that's me. Thanks, Ori.
Thanks, Greg. Looking forward to next year to see Discourse in place. Now let's move to Shimon with improvements in the fact importing.
Hey, so first of all, disclaimer, the things are not yet merged, so it's more of a developer's rant than actual demo of features that are available to everyone. But get ready, it will be merged sooner or later. So I did two main improvements in the fact importing area. First was actually dealing with fact name handling in the while fact importing. And the second one was dealing with filtering facts that are not relevant to be stored in Foreman. So first, let me share my screen, and I will show you the benchmark results. Hopefully you can see it. Okay, this is the benchmark results for my first PR, which is important fact name handling. As you can see, it shows somewhere between 2 to 3 times faster results. You can see the amount of actions in 10 seconds. So if before my change, it could do 28 actions per 10 seconds, the same type of action, the same type of imports, same type of facts actually were imported 84 times in 10 seconds. So I can see a question that asks about which database was used for that comparison. It was PostgreSQL. It was a local PostgreSQL on my machine in both cases. So I'm not sure that the total amount will be the same for everyone, but I hope that the ratio should remain the same. So this is the first PR, and the second PR is much simpler. I have nothing to show except the PR, but it actually filters names of facts that you don't want to save into Foreman database. Till now, we had a setting that you could filter interfaces explicitly that will not be created, but after my PR gets into Foreman, you will be able to actually specify in the same way with the setting. You will be able to specify which facts you don't want to store in Foreman at all. It should I'm sharing my screen right now, and here is the PR. It's pretty simple, and it creates a single setting, ignored fact names.
Could you make that a little bit bigger?
Yeah, sure.
And also, I'll remind anyone on YouTube that they should change their video resolution in case they don't see it so well, because the default is not great.
Yeah, so this is as big as I can get. The idea of the PR is here, and you will see a new setting, which is called ignored fact names. You can specify there a kind of globe pattern of fact names that will not be saved anymore in Foreman. It should clean up it won't, at least at this stage, it won't clean up existing fact names that you already have, but it won't add any more facts from the type that you have filtered out. So that's pretty much it for me.
Thanks, Shimon. It looks like you already answered all the questions we had on IRC. So let's move to Matthias, joining us from ADIX. Great to have you on our demo again about Subscription Manager.
Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Subscription Manager in the use for Debian hosts. And this is also a work in progress, but I'm going to show you what works already. I hope you can see my screen, or at least part of it. Maybe I should increase that.
Do you see it? Yeah, that's better. Thanks.
Let's assume we have a running Foreman Catello instance with some repositories for Debian and with an activation key. And this is the test box of the Subscription Manager repository for Debian. And I can show you there is now a file in etc apt sources list that first of all contains nothing. And according to that, if we do the usual apt-get update, there's nothing interesting to see here. And if we search for a specific package, it's just not in the repositories there. Now we can start to register this host to the Catello in the usual way. Takes a few seconds, and it says the system is now registered with the name Debian 9. Now we can refresh this, the repositories from the server. And we can list them with Subscription Manager repos. And now we should see exactly one of them. Where, yeah, you can see the URL here. And the file I showed before now actually contains the new repository. There's a lot of stuff in there that's not really needed, but I want to point to the URI line. There is a new entry which is now called Catello :/ then some weird number, and then the rest part of the URL you saw before. And this is pointing to a new apt transport method with the name Catello. And this method is now able to retrieve package lists and packages from the Catello server, which I'm going to show you right now. Again, we have the usual apt-get update. And as you can see, the list is much longer now, and we have the sources starting with Catello :. And now we can actually install a package that wasn't available before. In this case, I just chose Tuxedo Wallpapers because there are no dependencies there. And as you can see, the package could be retrieved and installed the usual way. Well, that's mostly it. This is now running on the subscription manager test machine in, yeah, not a private branch by now, but I think it will be pull request in a couple of weeks. Yeah. I think that's it.
Thanks, Matthias. This looks great. And we'll continue with Justin. He has two things for us today. Justin, to you.
All right. You can hear me now?
Yep.
Perfect. All right. So the first thing I'm going to show is a new option available for repositories. We can now ignore a global proxy. So the idea being that you're syncing things from the internet that must go through a global proxy, but some things locally in your own network cannot be retrieved through the global proxy. So we now have the option of ignoring it for syncing. And this will basically, oh, that's weird. I just tested this. Yay, live demos. All right, let me try it over here. That one worked for some reason. But anyways, you can ignore the global HTTP proxy setting, and so you are able to sync your local content without going through that proxy. The second thing I'm going to show, there's been a series of pull requests to Catello to help improve and speed up content view actions. So I'm going to walk through those a little bit. The first is I'm going to show you is on promotion. We can see here we've got a content view version with quite a number of packages and errata, and I'll show you the list of repos.
It looks like for some reason we're not seeing your screen on the YouTube stream.
Okay, let me share again. Can you see it now?
Let's check. They still see. Yeah. Okay, now they can see it.
Okay. So you can see this content view has about 7 larger repos, all with 7, 10, 14, 17,000 packages. So it's a pretty large content view version. Not something I would normally try to promote to a lifecycle environment on a demo. But if we look here, I'm going to promote it. It has started the promotion. This normally would have taken about 8 or 10 minutes on a faster machine, potentially slower on a slow machine, and now we see it's already done. So it's taken this promotion down to just a few seconds, or 10 seconds in this case, which is a pretty dramatic improvement. The next thing I'll show you, or actually I won't show you this, is publishing has also gotten faster, but it's on the order of 20 to 50% faster. So it's still too slow, for example, to show during a demo, but is a big enough improvement that users should be able to notice. And then the next thing is composites. Previously, composites took about the same amount of time to promote as their original views. So there was no performance benefit in any way of creating a composite. In fact, in some cases, it would be slower, because if you wanted to republish for RHEL, for example, RHEL or CentOS, and then republish that in your composite view, it took twice as long as just doing it in the original view. But now we've actually sped this up as well. And this has a bunch of RHEL repos, all those same repos that we had before, along with an app called Zoo. So we'll do a quick publish on this. So again, previously this would have taken more like 10 or 15 minutes, because it was creating the archive version or archive repo set, and then cloning that to the library lifecycle environment. And it's moving along now. And it's done. And then similarly to the previous promotion, we can now promote that to our lifecycle environment. And that was super fast. It's already done by the time the page reloaded. And in addition, I wanted to mention that there were some speed ups with regular content view publishing with regard to errata filters. So if you've seen slowness around starting the promotion or starting the publication of a content view with errata filters, that is now resolved as well. And the last thing I was going to show was some timings. This was on a high-end server. A single view publish improved from about 22% to 43%, around in there. Depending, this was a very large repo. This was a smaller repo, but still pretty large. Single view promotion was a 98% improvement. Composite view publish, which was, I believe that was with, I forget how many repos that had, but again, about a 95% improvement. Bulk, this was publishing 16 content views simultaneously, had about a 33% improvement. And so that's really just throwing everything we could at the system. And then the bulk 16 view promotion, so promoting all 16 views to a lifecycle environment, improved by 99%. And then on a server that actually, this is pretty fresh performance data, but a server that had much slower disks and less memory, so you're hitting a lot more bottlenecks, we saw an improvement on just the publication of about 74%, which is even more impressive, because that's not the promotion, that's just the publication, which I was expecting to see closer to, again, 30–50%. I believe these bottlenecks that were being hit, the improvement was even more. And that is all.
Those are amazing numbers. Thanks for sharing. I don't see anything on IRC right now on the live chat. Matthias, would you mind explaining what you explained on IRC about why using Catello and not HTTPS so anyone watching later can be updated?
Yeah, of course. The question was stated as an obvious one. Why can't we use the existing HTTPS transport in apt? Why invent a new one? The problem is that the subscriptions need to be configured with certificates and user certificates, and if you have multiple subscriptions from the same server, you might end up with different user certificates, and that cannot be handled by the apt transport HTTPS right now, because that is only certificates configured by one per server and not alongside the repository itself.
Thanks. Like I said, short demo today. Thank you to our presenters and for everyone watching. If anyone has questions later, they can add them to the YouTube comments or find us on Freenode or on Twitter. See you next time.